Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming to our panel discussion, Marriage Done Wrong and Right. And I'll just start and get into it. So we have Adrian and Kenneth Oliver.
Hello.
We have Tamika and Thomas McTeer.
Hello.
We have Tamika Hardaway.
Hello.
And we have Alexandra White. All right. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the first thing I want you guys to do is go around and just explain where you are or where you have been, like relationship wise, like whether you have been married before, whether you have been divorced before, separated, all of that type of stuff. So we're going to start there, and we will start with the Olivers.
All right, I'll let you go first.
This is my second go around. This is my perfection right here. That's what I say. My first marriage was a train wreck, and I was young. I was in the military, just going around the world and just doing different things. So I guess exotic, different was just attractive to me at the time. So with that being said, going and growing and bumps and bruises and just life within itself just taught me to appreciate just the small things, you know what I'm saying? So with the whole divorce thing, it was horrible. It was so bad. My mom was just come on home, baby. Just come on home. Come on. I was living in El Paso at the time, and my mom lives in Alabama. And I was out there, and I went from like a size 40 to like a size 32. Like, baby, just come on home. Just come home. I want to come home, mama. So I came home and just revamped my whole life. Moved to Montgomery for probably about 6 months, because being in the military, then going back to Montgomery, it was like, oh man, I can't do this right here. So my sister lives in Atlanta. So I came to Atlanta, and I'm a mechanic by trade. And she said, ride is hired down the street. So I got hired on the ride that same day, moved over here, and I had my ex had all the kids. She has 3 kids, we have 2 together. And I was trying to get all the kids. I just wanted all of them. I love my kids, so I wanted to get all of them. So that didn't work out that way. So ended up getting my daughter. And I was a single dad, and the school that she taught at was where my daughter went to school at. Prior to that, we're gonna backtrack a little bit. Prior to that, right there, I was bad. I was in the streets real bad. I was angry at women. I was angry at God. I was just an angry ball of energy. And I wanted my daughter to be well taken care of. So my sister said, you can't live with us, but your daughter can. I respected that. I said, okay, I got you. So I lived in my car for about a year. Wow. But my daughter stayed with my sisters, and I would go visit and try to do the dad thing. But fast forward to Adrian and I meeting. She was a teacher at my daughter's school. We went to the same church, and we lived in the same apartment complex.
Oh, wow.
I was
stalker. I thought he was stalking me.
She wanted me to stalk her anyway. I had prayed. I asked God, I said, God, just let me, my mom told me, baby, just want to do right and God do all the rest. And I made my mind up. I'm tired of the streets, God. I just want to give me a good woman that can sing. And she thinks she can't sing, but she can sing. So I prayed, I said, God, I just want a woman that can sing. And the thing about it is, we're 10 years apart. And so when I met her, she was 24. I said, nah, her frontal lobe got developed, but I couldn't get to her. So I had seen her, and I was volunteering. I was on probation. Like I said, I was in the street so bad. I had got a DUI on my birthday in 2005. 2005? I got a DUI, so I was on probation, and I had to go and volunteer. So I said, I go volunteer at my daughter's school. And that's where I saw her, and I was, she's a nice looking lady. She carries herself older than what she really is. And that's what attracted me to her. She's real solid. She's just, adamant about what she wants. She's real dogmatic about just getting her stuff done. She's about the business. And I said, I appreciate that, you know what I'm saying? So I had, I liked her, and I want to get to know her better, because like I said, we went to the same church, taught her to school, and then we in the same apartment complex. So I was just like, I'll listen to that song by Lenny Williams. I forget what the name of it is, but I listened to that song and I wrote her a letter. It was probably about 35, 40 pages. And I put it in a Ziploc bag and put it on the windshield of her car.
Because it was raining.
Book. That was a book.
That's why I say I got talking to me.
Yeah, so I put that letter on, and her I think was your sisters, I mean your brothers down here?
No.
You was going to Huntsville.
I was going out
She was
of
going to
town for
Huntsville for Thanksgiving on that day. So I put it on her car because I knew she was leaving. And so I didn't hear anything for a couple of days, and we got to talking, and she had this little boyfriend. I'm no rapper. Everybody want to be a rapper. He wanted to be a rapper, you know what I'm saying? So I just sat back. I told her I'm not in a rush. I'm the marrying type. And when I met her, I knew I wanted to be married. And she's like, I don't know if are we dating? I said, God told me you're gonna be my wife. He ain't tell me nothing. I said, I just need to be patient and I'll wait, because like I said, I've been through a divorce and I just want to take my time. I was separated from my ex-wife at that time, probably about 5 years, I think it was. 5 years, and I said it's about time for me to get married. So I was ready to get married, you know what I'm saying? I told her that, and she just, I don't know, we're not, are we dating? Are we dating? It's whatever you want it to be, babe. So we just get that around, and I surprised her with an engagement party. She didn't know anything about it. I think we was dating probably about
It wasn't
6 months.
Yeah.
I was ready to get married.
Not even, I don't think it was that long. It was a couple of months, because I had just got, it was 2006. And yeah, maybe 6 months, because we got married in 2007.
So I didn't play with it. I knew I wanted to be married. I knew I wanted to be married to her, and just not trying to convince her, but let her know that I was serious about being married. And I was just ready. I was ready, and she's the best thing happened to me. I can't lie about it. So.
I, on the other hand, thought he was crazy. Like, he would come to the school and we would always joke. We actually thought he liked the teacher across the hallway. So we used to always joke, your man here, your man here. And so, like he said, we dated for maybe 6 or 7 months. And February of 2007, he asked me to marry him around Valentine's Day. And we got married July of 2007. And we've been married for 14 years.
Nice. That is awesome. That is awesome. The McTeers, guys want to go?
Yeah, we've been married for 16 years. It's first marriage for both of us, so we're still together. And and you know, we met through work. And what else you want to know?
You can go into your story if you want to.
I'll do it. We've been married for 16 years, like he said. It's the first marriage for both of us. We met at work, but in an unconventional way, like non-traditional way is how I'll say it. Although we work for the same organization, we did not work in the same department. But we started talking through email, and we built a relationship through email for a very, very long time. And because I'm such an inquisitive person, I had tons of questions that I wanted to ask him on a daily basis, just about who he was, what he had going on. I mean, we started to develop a really deep friendship, and beyond email, he may have asked for my number, and then we started talking on the phone. And these types of conversations went very deep for about a 6-week period before we had even seen one another. And for me, I was just like, this is crazy. Like, how am I like so connected to this guy that I've never seen? And quite honestly, I'll be real honest and transparent with you all. I would ask myself a lot of times, like, it seems like I'm falling in love with somebody that I've never even seen.
It's that phone, boys.
like, could it be real? I mean, it was like an undescribable friendship, and we shared so much laughter together. It's one of the things that I think has truly kept us together today, because we have like just a really true, genuine friendship. And after us talking for maybe like 6 weeks of not seeing one another, he was like, "So are you ever gonna let me see you?" And then I was thinking, I was like, "Okay, yeah, you can." So he was like, "When?" So I said, "Come now," meaning come to my desk right now. Like I said, we worked for the same organization, but we had never seen one
You were,
another.
what, 2 floors up?
We were like two or three floors apart from one another. And if we had seen each other, obviously
We wouldn't even know.
we didn't even know. So he's like, "Can I see you?" I'm like, "Yeah, come to my desk now." He was like, "Now?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So he came to my desk, and the whole time I'm like sweating bullets, thinking, if this man come up to my desk and he looking like a monster.
Oh,
I was like, I don't know what the heck is gonna happen, but he came to my desk and I turned around, and I am a very shy person. I don't know if I come off that way, but I'm a very shy person. I'm an introvert. And so when I turned around and he was standing right there, I did like a full glance of him real quick from head to toe. And I was like, "Okay." Like, and then he was like, "What's up?" I was like, "Nothing." And then like literally,
I gotta go.
yeah, like I was like, "I can't do this." And so he left my desk or whatever, but clearly we had a physical attraction once we had saw one another, and we just continued to build our friendship from there. And I would say we made it official, and probably we probably met in like about April, and then by June, maybe June or July, we made it official that we were dating. And then by October, we knew that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. And so a lot of people thought that we were, moving fast and things like that, but we personally never let that stop us for what we were feeling and what we felt like God had put together. And then, so this was all in 2004. In February of 2005, he asked me to be his wife, and September 3rd of 2005, we said "I do."
oh. So both of you guys had like fast, like dating periods before the engagement and marriage time. So that's awesome.
Yeah, when they were sharing their story, I was like, "Oh, same time frame." Because just like you all, we got he proposed, I think it was February 12th. So it was like right before Valentine's Day as well. So when Valentine's Day comes around, it's bigger than just Valentine's Day for me. Like, it's definitely a to-do for us, and we definitely celebrate because it's like an anniversary for us as well.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love to hear it. Tamika, you can go into your story and where you are right now.
All right. Well, my name is Tamika. My story is I am divorced for some time now. And at this point, I'm just thriving in my single season. I've never really thrived in my season. I've always even after, I've had a relationship for a long time, then right after that, go into another relationship. And then the last relationship, I'm like, forget it. I had to take a step back and really go to God, something I'm doing wrong, So now I'm just single and I'm just living my life that way right now.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it's good. It's really good. I'm learning a lot about myself. Of course, my value has gone up. I'm not letting a relationship define who I am, especially in Christ. So, yeah, and that's
Good. Love to hear it. Alexandra, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna go by Alex. So I'm Alex. Currently going through a divorce, been separated. I don't know, a while. So I've been separated in my mind a while. We met in college. We were married for 4 years. And currently I am trying to figure out how to begin healing, but I realize I have a long way to go. So that's currently where I'm at.
And that's okay too. Okay, So that was a perfect way to end, because my next question was about healing. What ways did you guys heal before you got into, well, for the married couples before you got into this marriage, and then for the singles, how are you guys healing now, being out of your marriages? The Olivers can go.
Well, because this is my first marriage, I think, like Tamika said, I had gone from relationship to relationship. So when he approached me initially, I had just gotten out of a relationship. So I really wanted to take my time. I was also skeptical because of the age difference. He had been married before. He had 2 children and I was single, never been married. It was just me, and I had just moved to Georgia. So I was at a point in my life where I was really focused on Christ, and wanted to do things right, because everything I had done previously hadn't worked. So I knew, for me, I knew I wanted to be married. I knew I was making that shift at my age. I was starting my career, moving to a new stage, starting fresh. So I wanted my eyes to be on God and what he had for me. And it was like, it lined up completely, even though when he came in my life, he knew. I was like, nah, God didn't give me the memo. I'm gonna wait till he come sit on my couch and have a conversation. Like, I was really like, no. And he was like dead set on it. And it was like the way he showed up, like he approached me. We saw each other at my job, but then it was weeks later, I realized he lived in the same apartment complex, like 3 buildings down. And I'm like, he's stalking me. Then one Sunday I'm leaving church and I see him and his daughter leaving church. And I'm like, what? And so it was just like God was saying, ma'am, here he is. These 3 occurrences. And I'm like, okay, so let me give it a chance. So I was at a time in my life where I really wasn't seeking to find anyone. I was like, trying to do things differently. And that's when he brought me who he had for me.
That is so beautiful. And I've heard a lot of stories like that where people who have been brought together by God, like they say, I wasn't even looking for anybody. Like I was just focused on God. Like, so I guess that's the key.
I think that the healing part for me is with Adrian and I is communication. Communication is the key to our relationship. We have the difficult conversations. Our childhood, her childhood, my childhood, what we see, what we experience, coming out of an abusive relationship from a male's perspective, you know what I'm saying? Physical and emotional, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I say I was mad at women, I was mad at God. And I was awful, you know what I'm saying? But when I prayed to God and just say, God, I want a wife, and this is what I want. I was specific what kind of wife I wanted. And I focused on that she could sing and she was pretty.
I can't sing.
She can sing. So that was just my focus. And when I found that and I seen that, I held God to his word. We both agreed that we were going to be celibate after we got married. You know what I'm saying? We did that, and we took classes together at church, singles classes, you know what I'm saying? And we just want to do everything the right way and put God first in our life. And that was the most important thing, to show her that I respect her as a woman, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't no overnight, and not saying that it was easy, but anything that's worth working hard for is worth having, you know what I'm saying? So I told her, you might divorce me, but I'm not going to divorce you. I'm gonna make an excellent husband-in-law to somebody who try to leave me. So you know what I'm saying? I'm right here. So I just thank God for every night. I was telling my sister yesterday, I was like, I thank God for my wife, because she prays. She prays for me. She prays for the kids. She prays for everybody. And I can't appreciate her more than just that, just getting up praying. You know what I'm saying? And I look at her and I thank God for just her being who she is. And even though she's not perfect, she's perfect for me. And we can find spots and blemishes on everybody. However, change starts within, not without. So I had to change myself to fit her, you know what I'm saying? And whatever it is that she needs, I need to be that person. And that's just coming from, I guess, communication, seeking God, and being able to sit down and talk and pray and just share our thoughts with each other.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah. The McTears.
Yeah, I'll go first and then you can go. And so for me, I have a daughter, and I had a child prior to us dating. And so as Tamika mentioned, she's just in a space right now where she's thriving in her singleness. When he and I met, that's where I was. I was in a place where I was truly thriving in my singleness. And I would actually say from the time of having my daughter, I became a mom at the age of 19. And so I actually consider myself a person who thrived majority of the time in singleness, because I really didn't date a lot of people. I probably went on dates, but to say that I was in a deep relationship or falling in love with somebody, I never really allowed myself to get to that place, because I truly knew what I wanted and I wasn't willing to sacrifice what I wanted and who I was and what somebody could give to me just to say that I was in a relationship. So when I saw that things were not adding up to be what my expectations were and things like that, I stopped talking to people. Really, I didn't do anything further beyond a movie or a dinner. And I felt like true characteristics would start to come out. So I honestly hadn't had any serious relationships in between my daughter's father and meeting my husband. Like I said, I went on dates, but it was nothing really where I would ever say that I fell in love or anything like that with somebody, and had to go through a place of healing from that space. And as Adrian mentioned, I was really, during my singleness, I really, in the beginning, went through a space of having to forgive myself, because I wanted to be, my mom was a teenage mom. My sister was a teenage mom. And in my mind, I would be the person to break the cycle. And so finding out that I was pregnant at the age of 18 and becoming a mom at 19, obviously that wasn't something that I was able to achieve. So to some degree, I was kind of upset about myself for not staying on the path that I wanted to be, which was to graduate high school and finish college in, the regular 4 years. But I ended up getting pregnant, but I still didn't let that stop me, because at that time, then I knew, like, I had a bigger why. And for me, my why was my daughter. And so that just gave me all the drive that I needed to do what I wanted to do, be who I wanted to be. And it also gave me the opportunity to rededicate my life back to Christ. And so just doing that, my focus really became on him. I got involved in ministry. I started reading my word. It's just a lot that I started doing that was ministry involved. And because I was so in a deep relationship with him, there was really nothing like outside noise that could, I don't know, that could distract me. And so that's why earlier in the conversation, I said, I was like, God, could this be real? Could I be falling in love with somebody who I hadn't even seen? Because it was just, we met in a non-traditional way, yet the connection was very strong. One of the questions I asked him when I said that I was being very inquisitive was, had he ever dated anyone with a child? He said no. And so, I made sure that every time we spoke that he was aware that I do have a child, and any, for us to move forward, it's a package deal. Like, to love me is to love my daughter. So.
And I would say, there wasn't a lot of healing. We were young. But per se, there wasn't a whole lot of healing I had to do. I was single for a while. Coming from a family where my parents are still married, and it's, how long have they been married now?
It'll be 51.
Be 51 years. And so I already knew I wanted to get married. It was just kind of a matter of, when am I going to meet the right person, basically. And so I think, as Tamika mentioned, kind of meeting in a non-traditional way and kind of developing a really good relationship with her kind of over the telephone. It's, you kind of ask yourself, is this real? Or, is this, could be, somebody you could spend the rest of your life with. And so I think I didn't have anything really to heal from, just other than, making sure that, we're moving in the right direction. And, hey, understanding that, she does have a daughter and things of that nature, and that you got kind of, you're stepping up to the plate full time, when you're going to do that. But yeah, as I told her, before, I have, a sister who had a child, relatively young. And so, those are things that I've seen, witnessed in my family. So it wasn't like uncommon, right? So, those are things that you just have to kind of, put your big boy pants on, and it's what you want to do, right? Felt like she was the one for me, and just move forward.
Yeah, that's awesome, guys. That is really awesome. And yeah, that's where I'm at, Tamika, about like the whole daughter situation. Like, she is my motivation. Like, she is the motivation to just get it together.
Yeah, you can do it. I know you shared a little bit about your story, but if I could encourage you any kind of way, continue to develop your relationship with God, like truly lean into him and your relationship with him, like show up and be all that you need to be for your daughter. You will have outside noise, whether it's from him or anybody else. Silence that. Do not let that be the catalyst of you stopping doing what you have to do. Do not let that play into your mental health. Anytime any of that negativity comes towards you, remind yourself of who you are, who God says you are. Go to the word, like put on some worship music, whatever it is you need to do, but don't let that negativity take you over, and don't let people on the outside tell you what you can do. You are not the first person to go through a bad relationship and have to encounter, raising a child alone. There may be some tough days that you have to encounter. There may be some things that you have to go without, but keep your daughter as your why and continue moving forward with what it is you have to do. Remember that. Like, God will get the glory in the end for what it is that you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. I really do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tamika?
Okay, so what was the question again? Let me make sure.
What ways are you healing before you meet somebody new?
Right. Okay. So I'm just gonna back up a little bit. My last relationship, we dated for about 3 years. We were gonna get married and everything. We met in the church, which is supposed to be, you think it's gonna be a godly relationship. However, God in our life, God became small to me. You know what I mean? He's big, he's a big God, but he became small because I wasn't trusting him the way I should have been trusting him with everything. I got to a point where it was like, I don't know if I just wanted to get married so bad that I just like forgot who I was. I forgot God's promises in my life. I forgot like everything. I started kind of like getting away from like my family, being more embarrassed, like hiding from my dad. And like me and my dad are like this. So once I started recognizing it, I'm like, man, what's up with me? Like, you know what I mean? I really had to have like a reality check. Like, is this relationship worth it? Is it worth my future? Because it was really bringing me down. So last year I called off the engagement, and I've been just seeking God more deeper than I've ever done. Like being real with him, with my feelings, with my emotions, exactly how I'm feeling. I go to God about everything. And I went to counseling, being around more spiritual people. I believe that, just having the right village around you, it makes a difference. So I've just been seeking counsel that way.
Yeah, it definitely makes a difference to have like people that can just relate to, and it might not even be like you're saying struggle, but just to relate to a struggle, or to like, because I guess you always just feel like you're alone in something.
Right.
And so it's just always great to have that community of people that.
And I do want to say one more thing. It was crazy because a lot of times once I got out of the relationship, people was like, yeah, you could do better than that. Oh, you could. I'm like, now why y'all ain't say nothing when y'all see me deteriorating? And like, I literally, like, seriously, I got to a point where I felt like I didn't want to live no more. Like the relationship, I'm holding on to the relationship so bad. I'm like, why am I this desperate? Like, I'm Tamika, like I'm Jonathan daughter, I'm Tosca daughter. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm God's child. Yeah. So God had to have me, like, some things happen. Some things happen, and I'm free now. I'm free now. You know, I'm free now. Thank God.
Congratulations.
I'm free now, and I don't want to get too ahead. I know you got other questions, but I'm free now. And like I said, I'm thriving in the single season, and it's amazing. Like, sometimes you think it's the end of the road, and then God got a whole nother block, a whole nother city, a whole nother, you know. So that's just how we rocking now.
All right. Love to hear it. Alex.
All right. Let's see. I've never been healed. I've been broken since I came in this world, to be honest. And I got into a broken marriage trying to fix what I didn't have in my childhood that I don't know, I guess I want, that I do want, and that I do like aspire to have. So I stayed somewhere because it was comfortable. I really didn't feel like I had any other options. So I put up with a lot of BS, as Dejanay knows. I'm still not healing yet though, because I'm back in the same toxic environment that I was raised in. So I gotta finish this divorce first before I can begin healing. So that's where I'm at. It's only so much I can do with my parents. So we'll see how that goes. That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. And I can definitely like attest to that like environment part. Because when I was going through everything that I was going through with my separation, moving from Michigan to Georgia literally was like, that was the thing I needed to heal. Like, and I know a lot of people always say like, well, if you move, you can't just move from one place to another place. The stuff is gonna come with you or whatever. But literally just, I don't know what it is. It's just getting out of that environment like helps. It really does. But yeah, so let's move on to the next question. The next question is for the singles. And what is one thing that you know you did wrong in your marriage?
Wasted too much time. Okay. Wasted too much time. No one doggone like girl. But no, seriously, I'm not gonna just blame it all, you know, but definitely I wasted too much time. I know I think we're gonna discuss flags, but wasting too much time and not seeing my value, not really knowing my worth, you know. And then you can forgive people, but don't keep putting up with stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I forgive you, but like, we're gonna stop this, you know. I think that's my main thing.
Okay. Well, that's good that you noticed that. Because I mean, a lot of people, I've noticed like a lot of people that go through these type of things, the reason why I asked that is because a lot of people don't know what they did because they're still like so stuck in like the hurt and the pain of it all. And just, I don't know, like not recognizing that it takes two, like even though like really hurtful things may have been done to you, but it still takes two. And even if it's just noticing that I just didn't know myself, that's
Right.
something. Yeah.
And then I think a lot of times, I guess rushing into something, like for me, you know, 3 weeks is not enough to make a big decision. Well, I mean, for me, you know, I guess I probably didn't ask the right questions. Like Tamika said, she asked a whole lot of questions. So for me, I didn't ask a lot of questions. We'll date, and now we're in this long relationship, and there's really like not a solid foundation. So, you know, that, you know, when you're on a rocky foundation, it's not solid. I mean, it's gonna crumble.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex?
I agree with Tamika. Definitely wasted too much time. I got married because I feel like that's what I had to do. I was peer pressured. Not knowing myself, and honestly going into the relationship broken is honestly very, very silly of me to do. But I didn't know that. But I'm saying all that now. So I
Yeah.
would say wasting time and not knowing myself.
Yeah. I definitely get it. Definitely get it. So we're just gonna hop into the whole flags thing then. So what are some red flags for everybody that you noticed before, like, and it can just be your previous relationships. It doesn't necessarily, for the married couples, it doesn't necessarily have to be your spouse, but what did you notice in relationships in the past that you knew was a red flag, but you overlooked it for whatever reason?
Why you laughing?
I got a good one.
Like, why you laughing? My previous relationship before I met the guy I was dating when I met Kenny, I didn't have peace. And I knew deep down inside, like I was at that, I had just graduated college, moved to Georgia to teach, and I didn't have peace about, like, I couldn't say, oh, I could spend the rest of my life with him. I didn't have peace about it at all. And what's so crazy was that his mother spoke a word to me. And she was just as sweet. And she looked me in the face. She said, your husband is coming soon, and it's not my son.
Girl, listen.
And she was like, I love my son, but it's not him. And I was like, wow. And it didn't hit me at first. And then along comes Mr. Oliver.
Mr. Stalker himself.
And so, you know, I didn't have peace. And like you said, Tamika, we stay in these relationships, and it's like, why? We see the flags, our friends see it, and then the question is, you see I'm in this relationship and you ain't saying a word. And so I didn't have peace. I really didn't. Like, I couldn't say, oh, I could see myself. I couldn't say that.
Yeah.
Well, mine started off as a train wreck. Oh my God. The old cliche is that if I knew then what I knew now, it'd be totally different. But I probably wouldn't be the man that I am right now. Like I said, I was in the military and we were dating, and she was in school and we were saving money together. And I had the PCS to Panama, Central America, Panama. You got to have a passport, Panama. You got to take a 8-hour flight from Texas, Panama. And she just popped up there one day. We're here. What you mean you're here? Me and Kiana, that's my stepdaughter. We're here. You just can't show up down here in Panama on a military base too much you're here. There's a process. And she just was hell bent on being down there, being with Kenneth Oliver. And I wasn't the man that I am to say, take your behind back up there. So I just said, okay. And it was from that point on, I should have said, I should have did something, but I didn't. And the relationship went like that. She never heard no, it was always, it got so bad to where she never thought she was wrong. I don't care what the situation was, it was always my fault. And I was just like, but the thing about, I guess, even in that, I'm broken. I'm trying to fill a void that I had in my life, giving everything that she wants, and that's not necessarily true. You don't give a woman everything that she wants. You don't give nobody everything that they want. You know, so whatever she wants, she ended up getting, and it was never enough. She was always right, and we tried to get involved in church. My ex-wife is Hispanic, so we come from two different, backgrounds, and that has an effect too. So trying to be understanding and have empathy for. You have to be super, super, super strong to be in an interracial relationship. And there's nothing wrong with it. It just takes a whole lot more work than this right here does right here, And disciplining the kids was difficult. Communicating was difficult. Everything is just 10 times more worse than what it is with a couple that has the same background. And
You trying to say I'm easy?
you're I digress.
Okay.
And we tried to get in church and it worked for a while. But what I figured out was when you're some people are in church to be seen and they're there to participate in certain aspects of the ministry to be seen, and they're not doing it for God, they're doing it for themselves. I fell into that category, and I can say that's where that was the beginning of the end for us, you know. So my thing was just not do relationships to get something out of it, not just to go in there because you look good together. And that was the thing, we look good together, you know what I'm saying? So now it's all about the next generation, just making things better for each other.
Yeah, that's good. Like tears.
No.
I would say just, you know, for men out there looking for women, I mean, just women who are very materialistic. That was kind of a turn off for me. In just prior relationships. I mean, we all like nice things, but when you focus on that, you have a tendency to, hold on for one moment. You know, you have a tendency to, you know, kind of, you know, let that be the focus. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, that really shouldn't be a focus of, you know, any relationship. You know, you kind of need to be grounded and, you know, like I said, everyone likes nice things, but it's a matter of, you know, how you actually go about it. Cause you can't live for today and be broke, you know, trying to keep up with everybody else. So that was kind of turn off in prior relationships.
Okay.
And I guess, as I previously mentioned, I didn't necessarily date a lot of people. So my daughter's father was my high school sweetheart. And so while there were probably several things, I'll just say he was a cheater. Okay. So, and it happened numerous of times through high school. Like I knew that I shouldn't have been in that relationship as long as I was, but more specifically than that, I would say for me in previous relationships is not necessarily a relationship that I personally had myself, but I was I'm very observant to things that go on around me. And so in saying that, I was very aware of the toxic relationships that I saw many of the women in my family in. And so because I had so much of an awareness as to the toxic relationships they were in, I was able to look at those relationships and say what I was not going to put up with, not because I had experienced it, but basically based on what I saw. And I knew that I loved myself enough that I just wasn't going to settle. Having the title of saying that I was in a relationship or had a man, it didn't have that level of importance for me as it did for me to say that I'm in a healthy relationship by myself. And I'm just in a space where I can thrive physically, mentally, and be everything for myself and my daughter. So that's what I would say about that. Yes, I had a bad teenage relationship is how I would describe it with my daughter's father, but it was more so seeing other women go through broken relationships in my family. And for me, what it spoke to me is that they love those men more than they love themselves. I'm not saying that's their reality. I'm saying that's my perspective of how I viewed it, because I feel like if you love yourself first, that a lot of this BS that men give out here to women, you wouldn't put up with it just to say that you had a man, especially when you see repetitive behavior.
Yeah.
It's who he is. That wasn't an incident that happened.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And we're going to get back to that. We're going to get back to that question. We'll go into that after this. That's good. Tamika?
About flags.
Yeah. So red flags that you may have overlooked before getting into your marriage.
Red flags would be for me, or now and then, because people still doing it, but just not having goals, just kind of winging it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these men want to be like leaders, or because they are men, and they think that they are supposed to just run the household. It's a way that you're running the household though. Like, are you really, you want me to follow you, but are you following Christ? So it's just kind of like, but you know, if you're not following Christ, like who you following? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely a red flag that I overlooked. Like I was saying before with the solid foundation, just a little rocky. So
Okay.
yes, definitely Keela, like no ambition, just no, that's not what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. That's one I definitely overlooked as well.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like my last relationship. Man, when I tell you, I don't know what kind of blinders I had on. Like, what was I
Yeah.
thinking? Because even like he really had no goals. It was like, yo, are you serious? Well, you know, I don't got to keep saying it over and over. You know what we doing? Like, no, I don't. But yeah, definitely, like I said, yeah, just not having goals. That's the main thing. And it's not just to impress me. It's like this is something that you should have been thought about. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Like, what do you have lined up for yourself? Like,
right. Whether
what
I'm
do
in
you
the
want to
picture
do for
or
yourself?
not.
Yeah.
Like, what we talking about? What we doing?
Yeah. Alex?
His relationship with his mother, definitely should have been number one. And his controlling, I thought that was cute for some reason. It's not. That's a red flag.
Yeah.
Those were like the ones I really ignored.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good because my experience with my ex-husband, I'm still in the middle of my situation. So yeah, that was my experience too. He had a hard time. Him and his mom's relationship was strained. And it's like, well, if you are able to like be like this towards your mom, then I see why I wasn't that far off. So yeah, I definitely get that. But back to the question that I was talking about, it was what part, number one, like what environment did you guys grow up in? Was it like a two parent household, single parent? And was it healthy, toxic? And how did that shape your relationships going, like your relationships that you've been in or your marriage now?
For me, my parents were divorced. My parents had been divorced since I was very young. I had a very hard childhood. My mother was a drug addict. My father was a drug addict. So I was the adult at a very young age. I'm the oldest and the only girl, so I took care of my brothers. And then there was a point in time in my life where my mother had to go to rehab, like a full-fledged turnover custody type rehab, where she moved with, we moved with my dad. And so that in itself was a lot because my father had never raised us. He would only come and visit. So moving from Alabama to North Carolina, it was rough. It was a hard transition, and growing up through my teenage years without my mother there, I think my childhood played a huge role in my mindset of what I wanted in life. And I think that's why I am such a go-getter. When I make my mind or have a goal set, I'm going to go for it 110% because I don't want my children to grow up the way I did. So I go hard when I am trying to achieve a goal. And so, like Tamika said, watching my mother go from, bad relationship to bad relationship, it allowed me to see what I didn't want. And I think that's why when I was in a relationship, they were always long-term relationships because I held on so tight. And then God had to do a work in me because he knew what I wanted. And he knew what I went through, and he knew I wanted a family, a stable family. And so I think it played a huge role in just how hard I work doing my part as far as our marriage, because I don't want my children to go through what I went through.
Mine was my mom and my dad. They've been married and divorced so many times. They've been together for about 52 years. However, they've been divorced and married probably about 52 times. But they're together now. And my dad's a pastor, and my mom was just a praying woman. That's Adrian reminds me of my mom, and that's just how it is. But growing up, my dad was there, but he was absent. And I tell her all the time, I treat you how I do because I want my daughters, my sister, and my mom to be treated how I treat you. And that's just how I base my everything on, you know what I'm saying? With that being said, it's just that doing for and just, well, I'm from a little small town from Alabama, and everybody there is related and everybody's being your business, you know what I'm saying? My mom, she didn't have that, and we moved, and I just conduct myself as a man, a godly man in that way. What was the question? I forgot. My memory's about as long as my hair. I apologize.
No, the question.
You know what I'm saying? Don't do me like that.
No, the question was just how did your experiences growing up in your household affect your relationships now?
My dad was there, but he wasn't there, and my mom did everything, and I want to be the man that my dad wasn't for my kids. You know what I'm saying? I want to be the man to my wife that my dad wasn't for my mom. So that's the reason I'm like I am, and I do what I do, and I'm just a goofball with her and get on her nerve, and just because I want her to know that I love you, you know, good, bad, indifferent, you know, I ain't going nowhere, and I want her to be secure with me, you know. So that's why I am like I am with her.
That's good. That's good. Well, it's so like crazy to me, like how God works and how like he puts people together like this based off of like he knows everything that we need and everything that we've been through, and he just pairs us up with like the perfect people. And it just blows my mind every time I hear stories of like these God marriages that God actually put together, and it's like, dang, that's so crazy. But yeah, McTears, go ahead.
Like I said, you know, my parents have been married for 51 years, and I've got 3 older sisters. I'm the only boy, and so you know, I've got a bunch of cousins. I mean, I've got a large family on both sides, and majority of my aunts and uncles were married for the most part, and so I've seen kind of marriage growing up, even around even around the friends that I hung out with. Most of their parents were married, and they're still married to this day. So I think that shaped a lot of who I was and who I am, just seeing, you know, those relationships in general, and seeing people married, you know, kind of knowing that's eventually, you know, what I want. And so, you know, meeting Tamika, understanding where I was at in my life at the time is, you know, it made it easier for me just because I've seen, I mean, my parents got married when they were 20. And so seeing that and seeing them still together, I mean, they still have fun and, you know, still joke around and whatnot, but, you know, at the end of the day, kind of seeing that relationship and seeing another relationship in my family, you know, even with my grandparents, you know, before they all passed away, but, you know, they were married for a very long time, and that's just what I was used to. And so I think that allowed me to, you know, want to have a relationship, and, you know, and understanding, you know, what God wants for a union and things of that nature. So just trying to follow those steps, and you know, being there for her, and trying to, you know, build a legacy that our kids could see.
And as I mentioned, I've seen a lot of women in my family experience broken relationships. And when I say broken relationships, that applies to both my single female family members as well as married family female family members. Like some examples would be, I saw my I saw my aunt trust her husband enough to say that he was paying all the bills only for the sheriffs to come knock on their door and tell her that they had an hour to get out. That's not trust. That's not love. You say you were taking care of the bills, but you didn't. So I saw examples like that in my own household. Before my mom got up enough courage and strength to leave, I saw an abusive relationship there. My father, he was very, domestic violence towards my mom. So I saw that happen with my aunts and things like that. So like I said, I saw a lot of experiences throughout my childhood, going into my teenage years, where the women in my family were in very broken relationships. And for whatever reason, they wouldn't leave, or it would take them forever to leave. I can't tell you why, but the only thing I know is just seeing it. I saw all of the examples from the most extreme to something very small, to say that that's what I'm not, going to put up with in my relationship. I just, was not going to settle on that. And so like Adrian mentioned, like my father, he had substance abuse as well. So he, did drugs. I say my dad was a product of like the 70s. He had the good, we were a good middle-class family, and he worked at General Motors. So he had a phenomenal job. He had the family, he had the homes, he had the Cadillacs, but he also got caught up in selling the drugs, anything that you could think of, like late 70s, early 80s, he got caught up in that. And then early 90s, he, did like, crack and things like that. So his life totally changed, what he had and what it went into. So things totally changed, but is really from those life experiences. It probably gave me more of a tough exterior than anything. And so even with that, with meeting him and us coming from two totally different backgrounds, him having more of a solid foundation and really knowing what family is in a household, and me seeing more brokenness of it, even though, we were married, there were still some times where I found myself challenged in the sense of, I was afraid to be vulnerable, because I felt that vulnerability and really opening up to him would give him the opportunity to take advantage of me. And while that's not his character and that's not something he would do, I allowed somebody else's reality to have an impact in my marriage. So I would say, although I wasn't dealing with stuff like that when I came into the marriage, obviously after you're married and you're connecting with someone and you're spending more and more time with them, things start to manifest that you didn't even know was something. And so I would say for myself, I didn't realize that I had personally suppressed those fears. And so getting married, they came out because I wasn't fully giving myself to him, because I thought that if I did, he would take advantage of me.
Wow, that is deep. Yeah, that is deep, because same way, it's like the same thing as all of my family. Like all the women in my family, broken relationships, crazy type of situations. And then it's also, and it still goes back to like, God really knows like the person that we need in our life. Like for him to have the foundation of family, and for him to have the foundation and know what it looks like from generations, like he says, his grandma and grandparents, like, and for you to be matched up, like God knew you needed that. And so that is awesome. That is awesome. So Tamika?
My home environment, my dad and my mom, they split when I was pretty young. My dad ended up remarrying. I wouldn't say I had a good example of really what relationships were, because even though like they didn't really set a good tone, like a good standard of what communication was, how to love, how you should be treated, like to go through the whole, steps and things like that. It was just like, don't do this or don't do that. On my mom's side, it's a lot of women, basically everybody divorced. A lot on my mom's side is very dominant women. Oh, don't take this, don't do that. But nobody is like nurturing, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like as women, you want to be like that. You don't want to be hard and boy, do this, like all that. No, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want that. And so even now I teach my niece to be a girl, you know, be ladylike. Like you don't let nobody run over you, but you know, you want to be calm, be sweet, show your feminine side and things like that. So I guess it was a silent toxicness going on, you know what I mean? That I've experienced, that I've seen growing up. Once my dad, he's still in my life, but once he got married, remarried, it was like that was her husband, you know, like he was my dad, but then when he got married, it's like that's her husband. And it kind of went like that. So that was the home.
Yeah, I could relate to yours too, because like and it's just so funny because last weekend I went to Detroit for a funeral, and like we were all at my grandma's house, and like my papa, he passed away I think like 2 years ago now, or a year ago. And so my grandma has this new boyfriend. And it's just like, just to see the interaction of like how she like talks to this new dude, and it's like why are you so, like you said, like dominant, like why are you like this? and then even my cousin, I think my cousin pointed it out, and then my mom chimed in, was like, oh yeah, that's how you got to treat them. I said, I'm just sitting there like, wow. Like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, so I definitely get where you're coming from. Alex?
My childhood, I don't know, it lacked affection, love, communication, all that. So I grew up afraid to talk to my father. So I got in a relationship where I was afraid of my husband. And that's just where we're at with that. I don't want to go too deep into it, in all honesty. But that's the cycle I'm on, trying to get out of it.
Yeah. And you don't have to. We heard you, girl. Talk about we still healing over here. We still healing, so that's good. So our next question, I wanted to ask the married couples, what were some green flags that made you say, okay, this is him or this is her?
We'll go first on that one. Go.
They go.
I mean, I would just say, the way she carried herself, her kind of being in the church. I mean, I was kind of in and out of church. I wasn't going consistently, but I was raised in the church. So her involvement, wanted to be involved in church, but just kind of her demeanor. She was a go-getter. And again, I think that had a lot to do with being, mother already, and trying to go after it. And I think, Tamika, as you mentioned before, like people having goals and ambition, that's something that she had. And so that was important to me, that she also had goals and ambition, and just wasn't, hey, okay, we just gonna just ride this out and we ain't got no plan, right? So I think at the end of the day, like I said, that she brought a lot of that to the table that I was already looking for, and it made it, easy decision.
I would say for some of his, one, I mentioned that during our dating time, I saw his relationship, that he wasn't only falling in love with me, but he was intentional about getting to know my daughter. So that was very important to me, because like I said, for me, being a single mom and already in the season of thriving, I knew for me to say I do to anybody, that they would have to love my daughter just as much as they love me, because we definitely were a package deal. So he was very intentional. Like I never had to force his hand, for him to get to know her. He was intentional about stuff that he did when it came to building a relationship with her. Two is, like I said, he had an extremely fun sense of humor. We could share laughter about any and everything. And because I love to laugh, I probably a little goofy. I never had to like silence that side of me. I could just really show up and be myself. And he jumped on the bandwagon. Like we could share laughter with one another. And I knew that he was a man of faith, although he was not into church the same way that I was when we first met. He wasn't afraid to share his faith with me. And during our dating time, he, was intentional about starting to come to church with me, and not because I told him he had to, but because he wanted to. I remember him just going up and rededicating his life to Christ as well. And so it's been good.
Yeah, those are really good things. And it's like, I never knew that me and your story like are really, I don't know, I just relate to you a lot when it comes to that, because that's one thing I am looking for in whoever ends up with me next, is like, they have to have like some type of like intentionality about my kid, because it's like, we together, like you can't separate us. So
and I would say from a male's perspective, I mean, I as I said, I have 3 older sisters, and I think by the time we got married, my oldest sister had 5 kids, and then my youngest sister, who's still older than me, I mean, she had 4, and I think my middle sister was just she's recently got married, and so they didn't even have one yet. So they didn't have one yet. So, but just seeing that, right, and so seeing, my sister being a single parent, and then seeing my older sister, although she was together with her boyfriend at the time, they had a long relationship, even though it didn't work out, but seeing that and being intentional and understanding, like, I'm not going to get involved with anybody and a kid if I'm not going to be serious, right? Like my cousin, I remember he telling me that he dated somebody with some kids, and they were all in it, and then it didn't end well. And so, but he had a really good affection for the kids, but because he wasn't a daddy, he couldn't see them no more, right? So it was just kind of one of those situations that you got to be careful with, when you decide to, get with somebody. It shouldn't be forced. It's one of those things that shouldn't be forced. It should be a naturally and organic, somebody who can gravitate towards, towards your child and towards your daughter, or towards your son if you have a son. But it's one of those things that should naturally happen, and somebody should be able to, really kind of express who they are, and get to know the child at the end of the day, because I think it shouldn't be a force. If it's forced, it's not a right fit.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't be competing, with your daughter and a man to try to get along when you see so much of it on TV or anywhere, just in relationships. It's like, that ain't my kid. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how people act, right? And I think, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that's my daughter, right? And so, I mean, that we have a really good relationship to this day, and that's just how I look at it. And I think also too, my father was raised in, so my grandfather, my dad's dad, married my grandmother, who already had a couple kids, and his philosophy was there's no step in this household.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, and so there was no step in this house. That was his rule. And if you had Big Joe, he set the tone. He wasn't taking no mess. So there was no step, nothing, right? And so seeing that and understanding that, how that related, in that household, again, it just made it easy. Like, okay, they may be your stepkids, but ain't nobody got to know that. Like, I mean, just that's other people's business. And so it's, if you really want to take a family, I mean, that usually creates division when you say step.
Yeah, I never even thought about that before. That's good. That's good.
And because I mentioned that, when I was talking to him, I asked him if he had ever dated anybody with kids. I reassured him, not that I had to force my hand with it, but I just let him know that, if we did have a relationship, although my daughter's father and I didn't work out, I also know his character very well. And I was like, he's not a drama-filled type person. So although, my daughter grew up in a household with, me and my husband, she still has a relationship with her dad as well. And so they've been around each other plenty of times. My daughter is 24 now. And it's never been any drama ever. My daughter, when she's gone to homecoming, her dad has come. We don't even live in Ohio anymore. when my daughter graduated from high school, her dad was right down here in the Carolinas with us. When she graduated from college, he was here. We've all been together, and they've never, ever had any drama to this day. Like, I reassure him of that, like, because our relationship didn't work. Both of us on either end were very intentional about protecting my daughter and not bringing her into any relational drama, you know?
Yeah, that's good. That is good. Oliver's?
What attracted me to her was she's about family. I come from a nuclear family, and like I said, I'm from the country, and if I go home and say, "Hey, cuz," everybody gonna speak. You know what I'm saying? So, like Thomas was saying, there's no step nowhere in our family. You know what I'm saying? So when I came, I had the kids, and so when I met Adrian, I just threw everything out on the table for her. She's like, "Why are you telling me all this?" Because I don't want to be any questions down the line later on. I don't want to be any questions. So with that being said, my kids was important to me, and she accepted my kids. She accepted all of my brokenness. I had warrants. Whatever I was going through at the time, I told her about it, and it was just how she understood. And we're gonna get you out of there, and that's what I love about us, because if I'm down, she pulled me up, and if she's down, I pull her up. So that started out from the beginning of our relationship. It started like that, and it's like that to this day right here. So just her understanding and the willingness to understand. That's what her as a person. She has empathy for people that are less fortunate, and I was one of those less fortunate people that needed her help, and she just helped me to become the man that I am today. And I thank God for her. So her willingness to understand, her being oriented with family stuff. She met my sisters, and that's like, shoot, if she do good with the sisters, I'm in there. We in there. So her and my sisters got along good. Her and my mom got along good. I was like, shoot, I'm standing tall cotton. Now I'm the outlaw, and she's, what I'm saying, I'm the in-law, and she's family now. So we good.
What drew me to Kenny was, like you said, he was different. Like, he poured out everything in the beginning. This was before we were even dating, and I felt like, you telling me too much. Like, he was an open book from beginning to end. So that was different. And then when I was upfront with him about where I was headed, I was like, I don't want this to be like my old relationships. This is where my headspace is, and this is what I'm going to do. And he respected it every step of the way. Because I had been in relationships where, we had that soul tie connection and it didn't work. So I wanted things to be different, and he was okay with it. And I think he was at that stage in his life where he had been divorced and single, and he was at a point where he was ready to remarry. And he always tells me, I am not a man. God didn't create me to be single. He created me to be married. And so we always joking. He say, I'll make a good husband-in-law. You ain't gonna leave me. You sleep on the couch, I'm going to the couch too. You go to the guest room, I'm right behind you. And he's dead serious about it. So I think him being different was what drew me to him. I was concerned because of the age difference. And so God had to work with me on that. But because he's an open book, and we can communicate about just about any and everything, the same way we laugh and joke, it is like that all the time. We have more good days than bad. And if it's something serious, we can sit down and talk about it. It's never a shouting match, nothing. We, may take us taking a break and then coming back together, but we never go to bed being angry. And so I think from the beginning, it was just different from what I had experienced before.
Yeah. And I can relate to, you guys with the whole being straightforward type thing, like letting everything out. And I guess maybe it's because like I've learned so much through my marriage and separation and therapy and all of that, that is just like, I'm so I know it's not, because we're not supposed to have spirit of fear, but I'm so scared to like make the wrong decisions or like make the wrong choice or like pick the wrong person again. And so it's like, now it's like, I don't want to come off super like aggressive, but it's like I'm really straightforward now because it's just I don't want to play no more. Like, I don't want to do that.
Peace about it. You'll have that peace, I think. And he'll give you that peace to know
Yeah.
that this because like I said, he knew before me, and even having kids, because that was something I was just like, am I ready to take on that responsibility? Like we communicated for months before his daughter knew, and she was in the classroom right next door. She didn't know anything for months, that we had just been talking on the phone. I didn't go to his apartment. He didn't come to, well, he came to mine because it was just me, but I never went down there. So she didn't know anything for months.
Make you breakfast.
He would make breakfast down there in the morning before I would go to school. But she didn't know anything. And I think just take your time, and he'll give you peace about it. He'll give you peace.
All right. So that was good. Thank you guys. So our next question, how important is breaking generational curses for the next generation to you? Like, how important is that to you? I guess we can start with either Alex or Tamika.
Yeah, it's very important to me. I ain't playing. No, my kids.
And
Not
you
at
have,
all. So
you have
I don't want them to go through what I went. I have 3. Yeah. 3 shorties. But yeah, it's very important to me.
That's good. Tamika?
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely important. Because like a lot of times when you don't break generational curses and things like that, you're dealing with like for myself, when you're not healed, you can do like the stupidest things. Like spend money that you shouldn't be spending, doing like just dumb things, overeating when you shouldn't be overeating. So just being healed, going forward for the generations, it's definitely important.
Yeah. McTears?
Well, I know personally, I've already broken a lot. I broke a lot of the cycles with myself. And then the one that I did not break with becoming a teenage mom, my daughter broke it. She doesn't have any kids. Like I said, she's 24, and she's doing phenomenal for herself. So outside of that, I broke everything else that I had seen. And so I know if you guys follow me on social media, you saw that I have a book coming out. I talk all about that, breaking the cycle, and still achieving the goal that I want, which was my dream deferred of, becoming a college graduate. Like I still did everything. It just didn't happen in what the world would say it was like the perfect plan or the perfect way of achieving.
Yeah, and that's okay, because you still got there, so it don't even matter.
Yeah, I would say it's important for the next. Sorry, the dog wants to get in my lap.
We had blocked him out, but he was at the door.
He was at the door crying, so I let him down, and now he wants to get on camera. So, but now I would say it's important overall, and I just think when you think about generational curses and what it means to be able to, have your children or yourself, if you broke it, or your kids break it, at the end of the day, to be able to pass that lineage down, and it's making the next generation even stronger. And so being able to be aware of what those generational curses might be, even if you weren't fully aware of them at first, or you see that they're being broken down, I think it's very important to be able to break down those barriers, because again, it will continue to transcend down to the next generation and give them a further foundation to stand on.
Yeah, I agree. And like for me, I was in the same
Come on.
boat of breaking a generational curse of the pregnancy thing. So I'm like your daughter. I was the first one in my family to not have a kid in the teen years. So that was one thing that I was like super proud of, because literally like goes all the way back to like my great grandmother. Like they all had great grandmother all the way up to my mom. Like they all had their kids and their teens. So I was the first one to get through that barrier. So I was happy about that. The Olivers.
I think for us, it's important, even with the older kids. Kelsey is 26, Kenny is 23. Even being an example for them, we wanted to make sure we instilled it in them that even though their parents were no longer together, we tried to, with his daughter, she lived with us through high school. His son just recently moved here. So his son didn't stay with us growing up, but he would come and visit. So having his daughter here full time, I raised her like she was my own. So the same thing I do with my own daughter now, I did the same thing with her. So just instilling in her that, you have value, even though this didn't work out with your parents, we want you to be better, because as parents, you want your children to have better than what you had. And even in the younger two who are 12 and 13, they are here day in and day out. So they see a lot, and we're very open with them about family situations, because like you said, generational curses, we don't want the same thing that we went through to happen to them. So we're very open. We talk a lot about things that go on in our family, just so they'll know this is how to handle it going forward. Because, we grew up, everything was hushed and kept a secret. So we want to do things different with our
kids. Breaking generational curses is very important. The thing that's most important is not that we communicate. We communicate all the time. It's comprehension. And you have to make sure they comprehend what we're saying. You know what I'm saying? Because we communicate with my older daughter. She got pregnant in high school, but she didn't comprehend what we're talking about. So we have to make sure that they comprehend what we're saying. I think that's a generational curse that we're breaking, because growing up where I'm from, when mom and dad said something, that was it. No explanation. I said what I said, and that's it. So now, come on, these kids now, it's a whole different way. You got to talk to them. You got to interact with them a different kind of way. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that that's breaking a generational curse with them, because so many times we want to get angry about something and don't want our kids to express how they're feeling, and that's suppressing their feelings. So we got to allow them to speak their minds, respectfully, and I think that's just breaking a generational curse right there. It's that time, because a lot of even with our health in our community, we don't communicate our health issues, and you go into the doctor and ask, I don't know what my daddy got, what my mama got, you know what I'm saying? So we have to communicate with our children. So like I say, it's not just communication, it's comprehension. So breaking the generational curse is very important to that aspect that we have to make sure they comprehend what we're saying.
And even with our oldest daughter, with children at that time going through, they don't see it, but now she's 26 and she comes back and she's like, oh my gosh, I remember doing X, Y, and Z, like you were trying to tell me. And it's like, we may not see it right then as a parent, and we may feel like we didn't do something right, but God, as long as we're continuing to stay faithful and stand our ground and keep our children in prayer, it all works out in the end. Because even now with her son who is 8 now, she is appreciative of the things that we were trying to teach her then, even though that was my first time being a parent. I had no clue, and I had no And so it was just like, Lord, I don't know. All right. And it was hard.
Yeah,
There were some
it was very
times
difficult.
where I was like, what did I get into?
Yeah.
You know, I know I was, you know, I'm in it. I'm questioning, Lord, am I built for this? 'Cause it was rough.
It was hard.
It was rough. It was rough there, but to see the hard work now, and not too long ago, she put a post on Facebook, and it was just like, thank you for raising me, and I was a ball of tears. Like to
Aw.
see it now,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you're gonna go through some stuff with these children, but hold fast, you know, keep praying because it all works out.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. So speaking of children, what is one piece of advice you would tell your younger self? Before, and not, I don't want to say like in the midst of relationships or whatever like that, but like before you even got to the point of really getting into relationships or like getting really deep into boys, girls, whatever the case is, what would have known and I guess comprehended, like he said, comprehended so that you could avoid the problems and the trauma that you've encountered?
I would say continue to learn who you are, and understand who you are and how you communicate, because that's a very big part of how because I communicate differently the way Tamika communicates. Don't expect your same level of communication to be normal.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say that. You wish you would have known that sooner. Because again, it just saves you headache at the end of the day, to be able to learn how to communicate with one another. And so I think, that's just not a lesson for marriage in general. That's a life lesson in general, to be able to learn how to communicate and receive, and understand when you're communicating, don't listen to respond, but actually listen and take in what they're actually saying, as opposed to trying to ambush listening where you already got your response ready.
Yeah, and I do that.
I think we're all guilty of that. We are definitely all guilty of that. But yeah, understanding how you communicate, and also understanding that conflict is normal. Conflict is normal. No one's going to have a perfect relationship or a perfect marriage, and understanding that it's okay to have conflict, but going back to communication, understanding how you communicate, that will be also very important. And understanding that you will have conflict, but communicate, be able to communicate your way through that conflict to get you to the other side.
Yeah, that's good.
Be intentional about getting to know yourself, and who you are, what brings you joy, what brings you sadness.
Yeah.
And to just piggyback off about what he said with communicating, I think the deepest conversation we can have is the one that we have with ourselves, and being vulnerable with ourselves. So just having that talk, allow yourself to go deep if that's what it requires to find out who you are.
Yeah.
And if you notice something is off, rather sooner than later, tell somebody about it. A lot of people are hurting now from things that happened in their childhood, obviously, because a lot of people grew up in households where what went on in your house stayed in your house, or if you asked a question, you were silenced. So if more people could find their voice sooner than later, I think that would help a lot.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because I honestly, when my husband left, I did not know who I was. Like, I did not know what I even like to do. Like, and it was just really weird, because it's just like, what was I doing this whole time then? Like, if you don't know even what you like to do, then what were you doing? So Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, that's big. Tamika?
I would say, what I did write something, so I don't forget. Oh, listen to your elders. Like, listen to, look, they know something. You know, when I was young, it's like, I know. Like, no, you don't. Like, you know, a lot of times your older generation, they're trying to prevent you from going through something. Even like now, I'm at this age and I tell the little ones, like, I'm telling them something from experience, you know. So that's definitely what I would tell my younger self. Like, listen, you know, people are not just old and they don't know, they're not hip with the times. They know a thing or two. So
Mhm. Yeah, it's so funny. I just watched this video. I forgot the dude. I think his name is Carrington. Have y'all ever
oh
heard
yeah,
of
yeah.
Ashley Empowers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, great.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so he just said something. What did he say? He said smart people learn from their own mistakes, but wise people learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was so good. I'm like, yes, and like that's what I want to do. Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
like help people
Yeah.
like learn, please learn from my mistakes. Please do.
Real. It'll prevent a lot of heartbreaks and heartaches and all whatever other
Yeah,
ache there is.
yeah, yeah, that's good. Alex?
I think I would tell my younger self to just be myself. If we're all parents, that TV show Morphle, just be morphing into anything and everything. That's what
Yeah, yeah,
I was just like that. I gotta be myself.
yeah, yeah.
For me, something I would tell my younger self, um, it all works out in the end. And I think for me, having to take on an adult role at a young age because my mother was there, but she wasn't there. It all works out. Keep praying, because I see myself, I remember sitting in my grandmother's window and would pray and be like, I would pray and then I'm like, God, this gonna happen, send a car by, send 2 cars by, like young praying. So it all works out in the end. It's not always doom and gloom.
Yeah.
I think I would say believe in yourself and always put yourself before everybody else. Don't give so much of yourself that you're no good to yourself. You know what I'm saying? It was just the fact that you just trying to please everybody, and at the end of the day, you're no more good. You know, people will tear you down and just rip you to shreds if you allow them to. So I would say just believe in yourself and don't let nobody tell you no different. You look in the mirror and whatever you just put positive vibes on yourself. Just encourage yourself. If nothing else, encourage yourself because nobody else will.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Cause that was one of my huge problems is like people pleasing and like just wanting like validation and acceptance and like not wanting him to be mad at me or whatever the case is. And it's just like you just give and give and give. And then like whether they consciously know it or not, but they just continuously take and take and take. And it's just like, yeah. And then at some point you're just like out. Like you just don't have any more to give. So yeah, I definitely that was really good. That was really good. So the next question is, what lesson have you learned? It's kind of the on the same wave, but more so like in your marriage or past relationships or whatever. What was the one lesson that you learned that you will give our audience for their future or for future relationships or future marriages or what they are currently in right now? Like what would you, one lesson that you've learned that would help them? Tamika, you wanna go?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. A lesson that I would say, like we were just saying, like just be yourself. Like you are enough. You know, you're strong. Continue to feed your spirit, definitely. And you know, God will guide you. God will really nudge you, and then don't be like, no, God, I don't think this you. No, no. You know, a lot of us know what time it is.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say that be yourself, smile, enjoy life. Um, whether you're married or single, that you are still whole, you know, so keep God first. Like seriously, I'm not just saying that just to say keep God first because it sounds good, but like legit, keep God first in everything.
That's good. Make tears, you wanna go?
Yeah.
Go. Would you go? I wasn't paying attention all the way. Please go.
No, the question was just what is a life, well, a lesson that you've learned in your marriage or in relationships that will help our audience in their their future relationships or what they're in now.
Oh, okay. I'll piggyback basically off of kind of what our answers were for the last round. Really, it's communication. It's so powerful. It's a lot to be said verbally, and it's a lot that's said in silence. Don't be so quick to respond. Be open to listening. Don't believe that your way is the right way or the only way. Be open to seeing things from a perspective of your spouse. If it's something that you don't agree on, take time to sit and think about it. Probably come up with a list of 3 questions about what's your why behind the thought process that you have around that thing, and then go back and try to, again, have a conversation with your spouse around that issue. I guarantee you, if you take some time and just take self out of it, meaning the need to be right, that you guys can come to a common agreement of whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. But when you go into the situation with the attitude of wanting to be right and needing to be right, you won't be right, and you will have problems. So, you know, set self aside, lose the pride every day. I think that's what marriage is an opportunity, again, to die to self. And no, I don't mean like literally die, but die to flesh and what it is that you want to be right. And it's another opportunity to do and show up in a way that God will have you to honor him and your spouse.
That's
Yeah.
good.
You have to remember it's not all, it's not all about you.
Yeah, true. That is so true. Oliver's?
I agree to everything Tamika said and her husband said. Amen, amen, amen. I think the only thing I would add is don't settle, because we know we have that gut feeling inside to say, sis, run, bruh, run. And well, he cute or she got this. We trying to hold on. No, listen to the red flag. That's the spirit speaking to you about what it is. But yeah, definitely communication. Number 1, communication. Yeah, because it's not about you. Don't look at me like that.
What I would say is this marriage is a triangle. It's the husband and wife on the side and God at the top. So if any of those things are broken, it's not going to work. Second, marriage is 100%. It's no 50-50. It's 100%. So if you don't give 100% at all times, it's going to fail. And the third thing is everything that's good is not from God, and everything that's bad is not from the devil. So we get it all, and all money is not a blessing. So those things right there, it'll carry you through. I would just say, before anything else, seek God. Before any, if we have an agreement, she not don't agree on it, we don't do it. Good, better than different. If we don't agree on it, we don't do it. So both of us don't agree on it. I don't care how good it is or how bad. If we don't agree on it, we don't do it. And that just saves a whole lot of stress and anger. That's just a prerequisite that we have right there. So we have to agree.
Yeah. And one thing I've learned recently is go to therapy if you are dealing with issues, even though you're going in a relationship and things you may have suppressed, they come out later on, they manifest in different ways. And you don't think about it and you feel like, oh, I've healed from that. Things will trigger it. And then here you are having to tell another person and, explain things when you can't really explain it because you haven't healed yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Has anybody been to therapy? That's good. Did you out of the couples, did you do premarital counseling?
We did. So
Yeah.
we did a 6-week premarital counseling with our church, but for us, we didn't feel like it was enough. It was so much more we wanted to know, and we wanted to take a deeper dive. So we found another church that was offering a premarital counseling, and that was for 16 weeks. So that was 4 months, and it was like some deep, like it was what our church didn't offer. So if we wanted to just like check a box, it would have been okay to say that we went to premarital counseling through our church. And I definitely don't find that it would have been impactful. And it definitely didn't give us tools to take into our marriage. Whereas the other church that we found that offered a longer term, it was definitely what we were looking for. Is definitely what we needed. So that's for us, that's the only part of actual, I guess, therapy, or I don't even want to say therapy, but we went to premarital counseling. But then for us, we've been involved in ministry and we're certified marriage facilitators. So within that, even though we've been assisting other couples, I think because of the material that we teach, we also probably apply a lot of it to our own marriage.
Yeah, that's good. What would you say is like the biggest help that you got out of premarital counseling? Like that one thing that was just like, that was really good, really good for your marriage.
I would say one of the biggest things that, the I statements, I think that's still so true. And so we kind of still use that as opposed to, you make me feel like this when you do this, right? Or as opposed to using that, you're pointing the finger, as opposed to telling someone that
I feel a certain way. I feel a certain way in this. Oh, I took over.
Yeah, you took over.
Okay,
Yeah,
go.
Over, yeah.
Okay, my fault.
That it's flipping it to make the person that, hey, I feel, when you do this, it makes me feel this way. And so instead of pointing the finger, you kind of internalize and allows the other person to kind of empathize with you, because you're not pointing the finger or coming down on them to a certain degree. And I think that is a biggest takeaway that we still use, in our marriage, because again, it allows you to not point the finger at your spouse, but allows them to kind of see how you actually feel, when you're actually communicating to a certain about some certain things.
Yeah. So like a simple example of that would be like, I feel sad when I hear the words use always towards me, because when you use the word always, it makes it sound as if I never get things right, or I literally always do that thing, when in reality it could have been like a one-time occurrence, or I just did it once just now and then 6 months ago. That's not always, but it is something that you have done before. But sometimes when you hear the words always, it's internalized so deep. And so if you can explain it to your spouse in a way that makes it more digestible for them, and again, it doesn't feel like an attack, then I think it's received better.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Because I've heard that before. Like now that I've been like researching a lot about marriage and relationships, but I never would have even thought about anything like that. Like, because I was that, and that's what I mean by like noticing stuff about yourself after going through all the therapy and stuff. And it's just like, I was really that person that was just like, would point the finger or like not listen, and I'll be ready to respond, like that type of thing. And so yeah, that was a really big wake up call for me when I found out like Yeah, you can't be doing that. Yeah.
For us, we did do marital counseling, but we didn't get married in Georgia. So we would have to travel. And I think we only had 1 or 2 sessions with my pastor from back home. But after some years after we got married, we did go through a course that you can actually take if you're single and you're dating, or if you're married, called Radical Love. And it was phenomenal. Like, it really tapped into, was almost like therapy, tapped into why you do things as a couple or as a married couple that really dated back, or when the root was stuff from your past, stuff from your childhood, and how to deal with that, and how those things play a role in your marriage or relationship now. So I say take marriage counseling, but a true marriage counseling where you get to the root, not just surface level, because we did surface level initially, but we still had things that we struggled with in marriage. And so taking that other course, Radical Love, and I feel like that was for
about 16 weeks. It was
yeah. It was
about,
yeah.
It was a while.
It's worth it.
That's good. I didn't do marriage counseling, so that's why I always want to know, like, if couples actually did it, and like, what was it good? Yeah, so that's good to know. So we're going to be wrapping up. I did want to give everybody a chance to go around and say what they are doing. If you guys are entrepreneurs, if you guys have Instagrams or YouTube channels, podcasts, anything, I did want to give you a chance to explain what you do and how you can help our audience.
I'll go first. So again, I am Tamika McTeer. I'm the host of the Ageless Conversations podcast, certified marriage facilitator. And I am currently working on a program that I'll be launching soon called Girl Talk, where I'll be teaching my signature method of helping women just have that intimate talk with themselves to transform their mind, assess their foundation, learn new techniques, and kickstart their new journey with confidence to live a life that's fulfilling and give them the love that they're looking for. But that journey starts with self. So that's a little bit about me.
All right, I'll go. My name is Adrienne Oliver. I am the founder of the Oliver Learning Center, where I am helping the adult English language learner community and supporting ESL families through workshops, English classes, to help the community bridge the gap in that area. Do you want to say something?
Did you, Tamika and Alex, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I have what do I have? A business, a nanny business for Paige the Nanny. I am passionate about all the kids. You need a mommy break, you can bring them to me. That's all I have.
Oh, it says you're muted. It says ask to unmute. Yeah, it's still muted. How, is there any way I can unmute you?
Cover your mouse over her box, and in the top right-hand corner, there should be a mute or unmute button.
Oh, wait, that says ask to unmute.
Did you hear what I said, Dejanay?
Yeah, it says ask to unmute. It doesn't say unmute.
Click it and see what happens.
Okay. No,
Or click on participants and see if you can unmute it that way.
let's see. That might work. Let me see. Oh man. No, it still says ask to unmute. Dang. No. And you, Tamika, you're saying that your screen is black, right? Mm. No. Yeah, it's not letting me unmute anybody. So let me see. It will let me, okay, it will let me mute everybody, but it won't let me allow participants.
I'm here.
Okay,
Hello?
great.
Yeah, that was
Yay.
weird. Okay, no, I heard everything. I heard everybody from the nanny to Oliver, learning. Heard everybody. Okay, so I'm working on music. Some inspirational. Yeah, she said yay. Some inspirational music. Basically it's like melody and a message and a melody. So I'm actually I guess laid down a track. I'll let you hear Shabria.
I want to hear it too.
You want
Come on, come on. That's your first audience, girl. Come on, come on. Let's bring.
Right, let's get it.
Put them
Oh Lord. Hold on, let me get to
This
it.
this is new.
Oh gosh. Hold on. Let me see if I can hear it. Go to my Can y'all hear? I wanna love you and no one to run to, no one who cared, but got me to wake up, just let your past go, you got a long way to grow from here, you're so beautiful.
Have you always wanted to do something with music?
Yeah.
That's good.
And watch how your skin glow. I know you've been through things that made you feel less valuable. Now you are unstoppable. So all you wanna do is love you. Yeah, all you wanna do. You deserve love. Now all you wanna do.
When are you scheduled to release it?
Like soon.
It's good. It's
Come on, I'm about to hold you accountable. When you putting this out here, girl?
Right.
Soon. I haven't seen any posts in the group.
Right.
You haven't even talked about this at all.
This is good.
You are great. You are marvelous. You are full of life. You are full of energy. Don't ever go back to the way you were. Continue to look in that mirror and continue to encourage yourself and continue to love yourself over and over and over again.
Yes, Shabria, we need this.
That you're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're so beautiful. Girl, you need to go take a look in the mirror and watch how you skin glow. I know you've been through things that made you feel less valuable. Now you are unstoppable. All you wanna do is love you.
That's
So,
so
yeah.
good. Yeah. Good job. Yeah.
I did it about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I did it about 2 weeks ago, and yeah, I don't know, just
Yeah, and they're always using songs like that on like Instagram, like reels or like videos and stuff, like the they always have like the Black girl, like I know I've seen a lot of like natural hair like posts with these like inspirational songs that go along with them. That's the first thing I thought about when I heard it. And I'm like, yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Welcome. But yeah, that was a perfect way to end our panel. And I thank all of you guys for being here and sharing your experiences. This was really, really good conversation, really good discussion, very needed. And I thank you all for being here. And yeah, you have a great, great night.
Thanks for having us.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.